You ever notice how one moment can shatter decades of silence you swallowed just to keep the peace? And the very next moment can awaken a part of you that refuses to stay quiet ever again. You're about to hear why a 63-year-old woman like me learned that sometimes the person you fear exposing the most is your own father. And before I tell you everything, where are you joining us from? And what time is it where you are? Because by the time I'm done, you might never look at family the same way again. You're listening to a woman named Esther, 63 years old, too old to be humiliated, too old to be mocked, and far too old to be called something that burned deeper than any knife ever could. But maybe you've been there too. Maybe someone close to you threw your pain onto a stage and laughed while everyone watched. You think you're prepared for what my father did to me, but I promise you aren't. Because nothing bruises the soul like betrayal wearing the face you grew up trusting. And before you judge me for what I eventually did, remember, revenge is never born from hatred. It grows from years of swallowed hurt, dismissed cries, and the kind of silence that rots your bones from the inside. You're about to find out how one video, one cruel caption, and one old man who thought I was still the frightened little girl he used to control pushed me into a war one never knew I still had the strength to fight. Everything began on a day that seemed so painfully ordinary. I was in my small kitchen, stirring lentil soup, listening to the hum of the old ceiling fan that always sounded like it was moments away from falling down. My hands, stiff from arthritis, shook a little as I chopped onions. I remember thinking how quiet the house felt, too quiet, like something uninvited was already inside, waiting for the perfect moment to show its teeth. That my phone buzzed. I almost didn't check it. At my age, most notifications are either spam or reminders to take vitamins. But this wasn't that. This notification had my name tag on a Facebook post. From him. My father. The man I avoided for almost 20 years. The man who believed discipline meant breaking someone until they obeyed. The man who always said, "You'll never become anything. You'll embarrass me before you embarrass yourself." So tell me, why would a man like that post anything about me publicly? Curiosity clawed at my chest. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened the app. In the moment I read the caption, my knees almost buckled. Look at this failure. Failure. In all caps. As if the word alone wasn't already a knife, he had to carve it in loud letters for the world to see. And below that caption, a video of me. A video I didn't know he'd taken. A video recorded without my permission. A video posted for hundreds of people who once knew me, judged me, forgot me, whispered about me. My finger trembled as I pressed play. There I was, sitting outside my house, wearing old house clothes, rubbing my knees because the pain had gotten worse that morning. I looked tired, older, fragile in a way I never wanted even strangers to see, let alone him. In the video, he was filming me through his car window. His voice behind the camera was cold, mocking, dripping with the kind of cruelty only an ego can brew. "Look at her," he said, chuckling. 63 years old and still as useless as ever. Couldn't keep a job, couldn't keep a marriage, couldn't even keep her health. A lifetime failure. What a shame. I felt heat curl up my chest, burning, suffocating. He wasn't done. "Let this be a reminder," he continued, zooming in on my swollen hands. "This is what happens when you're lazy your whole life. When you make excuses. When you never grow up. Double quotes lazy. Excuses. Never grew up. Funny, isn't it? How people like him always rewrite history to paint themselves innocent. The same man who used to take my paychecks when I was 19 to teach me responsibility. The same man who told every boyfriend I ever had that I was unstable. The same man who called me dramatic when I said his words hurt. The same man who kicked me out at 24. Because I wanted to study instead of work for him. The same man who ignored me when I was sick, mocked me when I cried, and dismissed me when I begged for peace. And now he wanted the world to see me as a failure. He wanted me to feel small. He wanted me to feel powerless. He wanted me to shrink again, like the obedient, frightened daughter he once shaped like clay in his fist. But you know what the strange thing was? I didn't cry, not this time, not anymore. Instead, a still, vibrating anger filled my lungs like smoke. Heavy, dark, hot. You know that moment when something inside you snaps. Not loudly, not violently, but quietly like a thread that has been stretched too far for too long, finally giving up. That was me. Because for decades, I tried to forgive him, tried to outgrow him, tried to pretend the past didn't shape the scars I still carried. But when he posted that video, the past didn't return. It exploded. My phone buzzed again. Comments. Dozens of them. Old neighbors I hadn't seen in 30 years. Relatives who never checked on me. People who didn't know me at all. Some left, some pitied, some agreed with him. But one comment cut louder than any of them. At least he's honest. She's always been that way. And it came from someone I knew. Someone who should have defended me. Someone who knew the things he did to me. I felt something sour rise in my throat. I read more comments, each one twisting the knife deeper. Poor old woman. He's right though. Can't imagine being that useless at her age. Did she even do anything with her life? Looks like someone who wasted her years. Tell me something. What would you do if the people who watched you grow turned your pain into their entertainment? I closed the app. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the soup on the stove, watching the little bubbles rise one by one. My body felt too heavy to hold up. My hands gripped the counter until my nails dug into the wood. The word failure echoed in my skull. Failure. But beneath that word, something else began to whisper. Why now? Why did he come near my house? Why did he record me secretly? Why did he post it publicly? Why did he choose this moment? My father never did anything without a motive. Nothing, which meant this wasn't random. This wasn't a sudden act of cruelty. This was planned. And the moment that realization settled into my bones, the anger in me didn't just grow, it ignited. Sharp and unforgiving, I walked to the mirror in my hallway. I looked at my reflection. Wrinkled skin, tired eyes, gray hair in a loose bun, a body that hurt more than it used to. A face shaped by years of surviving, not living. But behind that reflection, I saw something he didn't expect. Strength. Quiet. Old. But alive. Stronger than he ever allowed me to be. As I stared into my own eyes, a question formed, one so powerful, so dangerous, so electric that it sent chills down my spine. What if the failure he created wasn't me, but him? What if he built his identity on breaking me, and I finally stopped letting him? What if he needed the world to see me as weak, because my strength would expose his lies? My hands curled into fists. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Confrontation is loud. Messy. Predictable. Revenge is patient. Silent. Precise. And for the first time in years, I felt something warm bloom inside me. Not fear, not shame, but purpose. My father lit a fire he was not ready to see burn. Because when you humiliate a 63-year-old woman who has nothing left to lose, you create the most dangerous version of her. I grabbed my phone. Not to reply. Not to defend myself, but to study. To observe. To collect every name that laughed. Every relative that agreed. Every friend who stayed silent. Because revenge is never just against the one who hurts you. It's for everyone who watched and did nothing. You want to know the truth? That night, I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. I sat at my kitchen table until the sun began to rise, watching the light crawl slowly through the window, warming the wood beneath my fingertips. Every minute that passed, my plan sharpened. My father thought he was exposing me, but he had no idea the secret I carried, the secret that would shatter everything he built, the secret that would flip his entire world upside down, a secret he spent years hiding, a secret I was the only witness to, a secret that could destroy his reputation, his family image, his social circle, and every shred of authority he clung to like a crown. But I wasn't going to reveal it yet. Not until the moment it would hurt the most. By sunrise, I smelled for the first time in months. A slow, quiet, calculated smile, because now it was my turn. And I would make sure he regretted the day he ever pointed a camera at me. You ever feel done touching your face and realize it isn't bringing peace, it's bringing clarity? That was me, sitting at my kitchen table, the first streaks of sunlight curl across the room, painting everything gold except the place inside my chest where anger had built its home. And while the world outside stretched awake slowly, I felt something inside me sharpen, louder, clearer, impossible to ignore. Because the moment I realized my father had motives, real, deliberate motives for humiliating me, something inside me clicked into place like a lock finally meeting the right key. And that key, that was revenge. You think the word sounds dramatic? No, not here. Not in this house where silence once kept me prisoner. Not when the man who taught me fear is now the man I'm ready to bury with his own sins. As the sun rose, I wiped my hands across the old wooden table, feeling its grooves, every scratch a memory, every line a reminder that things last when they refuse to break. And for the first time in years, I felt like one of those grooves, steady, deep, carved by time, but still here. My father wanted to expose me. Now I would expose him. But first, I needed proof. Proof that what he did wasn't random. Proof that he was planning something bigger. Proof that he didn't just want to mock me, he wanted to destroy some part of my life. Maybe my finances. Maybe my reputation. Maybe my stability. I had to know his motive. So I asked myself the same question you might be thinking right now. What would drive a man in his late 80s, an old man with brittle pride and a fragile ego, to suddenly, out of nowhere, post a video humiliating his eldest daughter for the world to see? Because one thing about my father, he never did anything without a purpose. Never. My phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but I did. More comments, more laughing emojis, more people I once knew joining in the mockery. But then there it was, the first clue, a comment from my cousin Laren. She deserved it. Angle, after everything she did, everything I did, what exactly did I do, Laren? I clicked on her profile. Her recent posts. Her family photos. And suddenly, everything made sense. My father wasn't just humiliating me. He was preparing everyone to turn against me. Because he wanted something, and it was connected to my late mother's property. My mother, before she passed, had left behind a small piece of land. Not much, but land is land. And in our town, land means power, respect, legacy. She left it in my name. My father always hated that. He told her not to. He told her I wasn't capable of managing anything. He told her I'd ruin her legacy. But she didn't listen. For once, she chose me over him. And after she died, I held onto that land like a lifeline. My father wanted it. He always wanted it. And now, he was planning to take it. The humiliation video wasn't just cruelty. It was strategy. He wanted to paint me as unstable. As incompetent. As a failure in the eyes of family and community. Why? So that when the time came, he could claim she can't manage the land. She's unfit. Give it to someone responsible. Someone like Laren. Someone who always fed his ego. Someone who always obeyed. It clicked like thunder cracking open the sky. He needed people to doubt me before he made his move. But here's the thing he forgot. People who grow up in the shadow of a tyrant learn to study every movement the tyrant makes. I've spent my entire life reading this man. If he blinked wrong, I could tell whether he was lying. If he shifted his jaw, I knew he was angry. If he sat too quietly, I knew he was plotting. And now, oh, he was plotting bigger than ever. I felt my breath steady, not shaky, not scared. Focused. He thought he was ahead, but he had no idea I'd been collecting quiet weapons for decades. Not physical ones. The dangerous ones. Secrets. Because you want to know the truth? My father's entire reputation, his carefully curated image as a respected old man, a wise community member, a pillar of discipline, was built on lies. And I was the only one who knew those lies well enough to crumble him like dust. I stood up from the kitchen table, my knees aching, my back stiff. I wasn't young anymore. But the fire inside me didn't care. I walked to my bedroom and opened the small metal box under my bed, a box I hadn't touched in 25 years. Inside it were papers, old letters, records, photographs, proof of everything he did. Evidence that could destroy him in minutes. And one document, folded and yellowed with age, held the kind of truth no man could ever outrun. I didn't pull it out fully, just touched its edge, because revenge isn't rushed. Revenge is carved. I closed the box and pushed it back under my bed. Not yet. Not today. First, I needed to understand the full scope of his plan. Why now? Why publicly? Why with such confidence? The answers wouldn't come from guessing. They would come from watching. So I grabbed my old coat, the same one I used to wear when I worked night shifts, and walked outside. The morning air bit into my skin, crisp and cold. The streets were still quiet, the neighborhood waking slowly. I walked towards the old district cafe, one of the few places where gossip traveled faster than light. If my father was plotting something, someone here would have heard even a whisper of it. When I pushed the door open, the bell chimed softly. The smell of coffee and butter bread wrapped around me, familiar and comforting. A few older women sat near the window, whispering to one another. They paused when they saw me. Of course they did. Everyone knew who I was now. The failure from the video. The woman to be pitied or mocked. I ignored their stares and approached the counter. Liller, a woman in her 70s with kind eyes and a sharper tongue than anyone in town, raised an eyebrow at me. So, she said, leaning forward, you saw the video? Her voice wasn't mocking. It was calculating. I nodded. She exhaled. Slow. Heavy. You need to watch your father. Isabel, she whispered. He's been talking to the council about your mother's land. I felt my stomach twist. There it was. Confirmation. Double quotes. What did he say? I asked, lowering my voice. That you can't take care of yourself. That you're confused. That maybe the land would be better handled by someone younger, someone stable. Laureen. It had to be her and the council. I asked. They're listening. Some believe him. Of course they did. The old man built a reputation for decades. A reputation he wore like armor. An image of perfection. An image of authority. An image of a man who always knew best. But they didn't know him like I did. Lila leaned in even closer. And there's more. He's planning to make a formal request. Soon. Very soon. A formal request. To take what my mother had entrusted to me. To erase the one thing that connected me to her. To win. I clenched my jaw so tight my teeth ached. I see. I murmured. But Lila placed her hand on mine. You're not as powerless as he thinks, she whispered. You've survived too much to lose now. Her words sparked something inside me. Something fierce. I know, I replied, my voice steady. Because she was right. People like my father build their power on one thing, the belief that their victim won't fight back. But victims grow teeth. And I wasn't going to let him win. I left the cafe and walked home. But every step felt heavier with intention. When I reached my front door, I saw something on the ground. An envelope. My name on it. In my father's handwriting. The moment I picked it up, I felt a chill race through me. Not fear. Recognition. He never sent letters. Never reached out. Never communicated without purpose. I didn't open it right away. I brought it inside, sat at the kitchen table, and stared at it like it was a snake ready to strike. Because whatever was inside wasn't good. Finally, I tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Illegal. An OTICA notice stating that he was formally requesting an evaluation of my mental competence. To determine if I could legally manage property. He wasn't just trying to take my land. He was trying to declare me mentally unfit. He wanted to control my life. He wanted to strip me of autonomy. He wanted to humiliate me further. He wanted to rebuild the fear he once used to own me. I felt the room tilt. My heart pounded against my ribs. My own father was trying to take away my rights. He wanted to cage me again. The way he did when I was young. The way he always believed he could. I let the paper fall onto the table. Now I understood everything. The video was only step 1. The public humiliation was step 2. The letter was step 3. Destroy her credibility, destroy her dignity, destroy her independence, then take everything from her. This was war, and he believed I was too weak to fight. But here's what he didn't know: I had his secrets. Secrets he prayed would stay buried. Secrets only I witnessed. Secrets that would make his perfect image crumble into dust. I looked at the clock on the wall. It ticked slowly, rhythmically, like a countdown. Everything inside me hardened. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was survival. I stood up, grabbed my coat again, and headed out the door. It was time to gather allies. Time to collect evidence. Time to prepare the truth. The kind of truth that could melt an empire. I walked toward a place I hadn't visited in years. A place that smelled of dust and old books. A place where records lived. The town archive. Because if he wanted to play legal games, he forgot that I knew where his skeletons were buried. Literally. And metaphorically. When I stepped into the archive, the air was cold, still, heavy with history. The clerk, an older man named Julius, looked up from his desk. He recognized me instantly, probably from the damn video. His eyes softened, sympathetic. I need access to archives from 1982 to 1995, I said plainly. He hesitated. That's a lot of records. I know, I replied, and I need them today. He studied my face, really studied it. Then he nodded slowly. You're doing the right thing, he said. Someone like your father shouldn't get everything he wants. I didn't respond. He didn't need to know the layers behind this war. What I needed were the old documents my father spent decades trying to bury. Financial records, property transfers. Police reports. Community notes. Town hearings. All the pieces of the past he thought no one would ever connect except me. Because I lived those years. I saw what he did. I heard what he threatened. I knew what he hid. And now I would turn every one of those pieces into a blade sharp enough to cut through the mask he wore. As I pulled file after file from the shelves, my hands shook not from fear, but from something deeper. Memories I forced myself to forget. Memories he hoped were erased. Memories of nights filled with shouting, manipulation, and worse. But now those memories would serve me. Every paper I touched felt like a match waiting to burn down the empire he built on cruelty. Hours passed. I gathered everything into a stack thick enough to make my arms ache. When I finally stepped outside, the sun was setting, bleeding orange across the sky like the world itself knew something dark was rising. I walked home slowly, but with purpose, because now I had ammunition. And my father had no idea. As I reached my front door, I paused. I wasn't the same woman who left this morning. I wasn't the woman in the video. I wasn't the woman the comments mocked. I wasn't the daughter he tried to break. I was the storm he didn't expect, and he would feel every drop of it. When people say rage burns, they don't understand. Rage doesn't burn. Rage clarifies. By the time I reached home with the thick stack of archival documents pressing against my ribs, I felt clearer than I had in years. Like someone had finally washed the fog off the window through which I'd been forced to view my life. I shut the door behind me and locked it, turning the bolt slowly, deliberately. Inside this house, I was safe. Inside this house, I controlled the silence. Inside this house, I would build the storm that would tear my father's image apart. But first, I needed to know exactly which weapon would cut the deepest. I spread the papers on the table, one by one, like laying out bones from an unburied grave. As each page touched the wood, I felt the weight of the past thicken the air. Financial statements from the late 80s. Town hearing minutes. Police logs. Small claims disputes. Property transactions my father swore never existed. All of them whispering the same truth. My father had been building his reputation on my mother's stolen sacrifices. He never struck her, at least not physically, but he drained her, used her name, used her kindness. Used her trust. and then hid everything under the rug of respectability, the same respectability he used now to turn people against me. My hands trembled as I opened another folder. Inside were scans of handwritten complaints filed by neighbors, people who heard shouting from our home, people who saw bruises I told them were clumsy accidents, people who noticed how often I missed school, people who never had the courage to press the matter further. And one complaint, one I have forgotten entirely, bore my own childish handwriting. I felt the world tilt outwards. I had written at 12 years old. I'm scared of my father. Please help my mom. 12 years old, a child, begging strangers for help because no one inside the house listened. I gripped the edge of the table so tightly my knuckles went white. This wasn't just about land anymore. This wasn't even about humiliation anymore. This was about erasing the last piece of my mother. This was about killing the part of her that chose me. And that I would never allow. I heard the wind howl outside the window, pushing branches against the glass. A storm was forming. Fitting, nature had always been kinder to me than the man who raised me. I reached for my phone because I needed to talk to one person, one man who had been there in the shadows of my life without knowing the depth of the wounds. My brother, not by blood, not fully, but close enough. Rico and I grew up in the same neighborhood. He was 2 years older, always keeping an eye on me when I had no one else. But life pulled us apart. He moved away, came back only for holidays, and I never told him the truth. I dialed his number. He answered on the second ring. Isabel. His voice carried worry. I saw the video. Are you okay? No one had asked me that. Not once. Not sincerely. I'm fine. I said. A lie most people would swallow. But not him. No, you're not. He sounded angry. Why would he do that to you? Why would he? He's trying to take my mother's land. I cut in. And he's trying to have me declared mentally incompetent. Silence. Then, that old bastard, Rico hissed. I knew he was manipulative. But this is damn it. Isabel, I felt heat rise in my throat. Not tears, anger. He's going to the council soon. He has them believing I'm unstable. I need information, records, witnesses, anything. You should have told me earlier. He said softly. I would have helped you. I always would have. I swallowed hard. I know, I just didn't want to bring anyone into this. Well, too late. He snapped gently. I'm in this, and I've got something you need. My pulse quickened. What? You remember Mr. Delman, the guy who used to work with your father? I froze. Yes. I remembered him vividly. A quiet man with a limp. A man my father used to mock behind closed doors. A man who suddenly left town without explanation. What about him? I asked. He kept records, Rico said. Financial ones. And he hated your father. There was some incident. Something to do with money that disappeared from the community fund. I felt electricity shoot through my veins. Embezzlement. It was always whispered. Never proven. A ghost rumor. Can you get in touch with him? I asked. I already did. His voice softened. He'll meet you. But Isabel, he wants to talk in person. In person where? At the old train station. Tonight? I echoed. Yes. He said he's leaving town for good tomorrow. If you want the truth, this is your only chance. I exhaled slowly. Tell him I'll be there. Rico paused before hanging up. Isabel. Yes, you're not alone in this. Not anymore. The call ended. I stared at the papers again. My father's ghost laid bare on my table. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Strength. Night fell fast and cold. The wind picked up. Clouds swallowed the moon whole. The entire sky looked like it was bracing for war right along with me. I stepped outside, wrapped in my coat, clutching the folder of documents in my hand. The streets were empty, the storm keeping everyone inside. But not me. Some storms are meant to be walked through. The old train station sat at the edge of town, half abandoned, half forgotten. Its roof sagged, its windows were dusted with age. The last train left 10 years ago. But the structure still stood like a stubborn old man refusing to collapse. fitting, given who I was about to meet. As I approached, I saw a figure sitting on a bench under the broken canopy. He looked older now, gray hair, wrinkles carved deep, a cane leaning beside him. Mr. Delman, I murmured. He looked up slowly. Isabel, he said, recognizing me instantly. You look just like your mother. My chest tightened. People rarely said that. And when they did, it felt like someone lit a candle in the darkness. I hear you want the truth about your father, he said. I do. Well, he sighed, leaning back. You deserve it. God knows your mother deserved justice a long time ago. I sat beside him, my breath shallow. What happened? I asked. He glanced toward the dark tracks, as if the past were still running along them. Your father stole money, he said plainly. Thousands. From the community fund, money meant for widows and struggling families. My stomach clenched, and when I found out, Delman continued, he threatened me, told me if I ever spoke, he'd ruin me, said he'd make sure everyone believed I was the thief. That sounds like him, I whispered bitterly. He nodded. He forged signatures. He moved money through accounts under your mother's name before she realized what was happening. When she confronted him, he made her believe she mismanaged funds, gaslight her so badly she cried in my office. My throat moved, but no sound came out. I remembered those cries, those nights, those arguments muffled through closed doors. He pushed her until she broke. Delman said quietly, and she wasn't the only one. He reached into his coat pocket. My wife kept copies. She didn't trust him. She said one day the truth would matter to someone. Looks like she was right. He handed me a sealed brown envelope. Inside, I could feel thick papers, photocopies, receipts, records. Proof of everything. But why now? I asked. Why give this to me today? Because I saw the video, he said plainly, and I knew exactly what he was doing. He's setting you up the same way he set up your mother. I felt my breath stop. He wants control, Delman said. Men like him always do. And when they can't control through fear anymore, they turn to public humiliation. Lightning cracked across the sky, flashing white behind him. The storm was growing. He thinks you're weak, Isabel, Delman said, his voice lowering. He thinks you still fear him. I don't, I whispered, and for once, it felt true. Good, he replied. Because the only way to beat a man like him is to stop being afraid of him. He stood slowly, leaning on his cane. That envelope can bring him down, but be careful. He's desperate, and desperate men are dangerous. Rain began to fall slow at first, then heavier drumming against the metal canopy. I held the envelope to my chest. Thank you, I said quietly, for everything. Thank my wife, he murmured. She always said truth waits for the right hands. He walked away into the rain, his silhouette fading into the darkness, and I stood alone at the station, the storm raging around me, the truth finally in my hands. When I returned home, soaked to the bone, something felt off. The air felt wrong. To still. To cold. I opened the door slowly. The lights were off, the house silent, but something inside told me I wasn't alone. And then I saw it, a pair of muddy shoe prints on the floor. Small. Light. Deliberate. Not mine. Someone had been here. Someone had entered my home while I was gone. My heart slammed against my ribs. I moved slowly, quietly, every sound amplified by the storm outside. In the center of the table, next to my piles of documents, lay something new, a note. Written in familiar handwriting. My father's. I approached it cautiously, my pulse pounding in my ears. The note had only 4 words. You should stop now. I stared at it. A warning, a threat, a promise. Rain hammered the windows, wind screaming like the world was fracturing apart. But inside me, a new kind of silence was forming. Not fear, not panic. Resolve. He came into my home, went through my things. He knew I was digging. He felt the ground shifting under him. He was afraid. Good. Because now the game had changed. He wasn't just my enemy. He was a cornered enemy, and a cornered enemy is the most predictable of all. I moved the note aside and placed Delman's envelope on the table. My father wanted me to stop. No. Not now. Not ever. He started this war. I was going to finish it. You feel the truth tightening round your throat the moment you step back into your living room, because you know something bigger is moving underneath everything your father ever did to you, and you know you're getting close enough for him to feel the heat of his own lies burning against his skin. You sense the way his mask will crack soon, the way his perfect little image will split open when the world sees the man he really is. You look at the floor, then at the door, then at the picture frames he arranged so carefully, as if good decor could ever hide a rotten soul. And you think, if he built his life on a throne of humiliation, then you're about to strike at its foundations. You sit on the old sofa, the one he always made you clean even when you were sick, and your hands tremble with a mixture of fury and clarity. You think about the stolen birthday, the public post calling you a failure, the years of being the punching bag for his ego. You think about how he enjoyed stepping on you, because it made him feel taller. You lean forward and whisper to yourself, almost as if you're telling your future self, it's time. You feel the weight of Part 3's discover your childhood diary in his hidden drawer still resting heavily on your shoulders. That diary wasn't just a memory, it was evidence. It was the first real weapon you'd taken back from him. You remember how you opened it, page by page, and saw yourself at different ages, every entry echoing the same pain he ignored and mocked. You saw drawings from when you were a child, drawn with shaky hands, showing him yelling, you crying, your mother in the corner with her back turned. You felt something shift inside you the moment you realized he didn't just keep the diary, he studied it. He kept it because he liked remembering how small he made you. You rise from the sofa, because staying still feels impossible. Your mind races, each thought clawing at the next. You whisper to the empty room, why did he keep it? What was he planning? What did he want to remember? The shadows in the corners of the room feel like they are holding secrets too, like they witnessed every scream that vanished into wallpaper. You look toward the hallway where the hidden drawer once sat, and something inside you says that if he hid your diary, he hid more, much more. Maybe the answers to all the questions that kept your soul awake for 50 years are still hiding in this house. So you decide you're going to turn every drawer inside out, every cabinet upside down, every forgotten corner into a spotlight. And you start with his bedroom. You walk slowly, each step echoing with a kind of sinister calm, like you're marching toward the center of a battlefield you were forced to fight in your entire life. When you open his bedroom door, you feel the smell of his cologne, the same scent he always wore at church to convince everyone he was righteous, drift out right into your face. You whisper, you can't hide behind this smell anymore. And you walk inside. You start searching. You move the bed. Nothing. You check under the mattress. Nothing. You open the chest by the window. Blankets, old photos, receipts, but nothing that explains why he treated you the way he did. You pull open drawer after drawer, finding mundane things, shirts, socks, paperwork, but then something startles you. A small iron box, locked tight, hidden behind stacks of old sweaters. You pull it out, the metal cold against your palms, and your heart begins pounding so loudly you swear the floor vibrates beneath you. You sit on the bed, holding the box, feeling its weight. It's heavier than it looks, too heavy for something meaningless. You whisper, what are you hiding, Dad? The sound of your own voice trembles slightly, not in fear, but in anticipation. You look around for a key. You know a man like him would never leave something this important carelessly. So you look in his closet. You pat the pockets of his jackets, and then you find it tucked inside the lining of his Sunday suitor, tiny brass key. The moment you slide the key into the box, you pause. You brace yourself, because a part of you knows this box is about to rewrite everything you thought about your childhood. You inhale slowly, and as you turn the key, you feel the lock click open like a gasp in the dark. You lift the lid, and you freeze. Inside the box is a folded envelope with your name written on it in your father's handwriting, your full name, written cleanly, carefully, almost tenderly. That alone unsettles you more than anything else, Beneath the envelope lies a stack of old VHS tapes labeled with dates from your childhood. Your hands shake violently as you pick them up, because those dates, they match the dates of moments he always said you imagined, the times he swore you were making up stories, the events he mocked you for remembering. You whisper, "He recorded me," as shiver runs through your spine. Not the Facebook video, not the humiliation he posted online for the world to see. These were older, much older. These were tapes from when you were a child. Your pulse rises, your breath shortens. You say, aloud, "Why did he keep these? Why did he film me? What was he planning to do with them?" You push the envelope aside for the moment because the tapes demand answers first. You grab the VHS player he kept under his TV because, of course, he still owned one, and you insert the first tape. The screen flickers. Static. Then your father's voice. "Hold still, Isabella. Don't cry. Smile for the camera." You feel sick. You grip the edge of the table so tightly your knuckles turn white. On the screen, little you stands in the middle of a room, sobbing quietly, wiping tears with the back of your hand. You were maybe 9 years old. Your father's voice continues. "No daughter of mine cries in front of people." Look at the camera. You whisper, "God, he filmed this. He kept this." The tape continues. Little you tries to smile. Your father gets angry. He raises his hand. The camera jerks as if someone bumped it. Then your mother's voice, faint, fearful, "Please, stop. She's just a child." Your father yells at her off screen. Something you can't quite make out. Your mother goes silent. The recording cuts to black. You pause the tape. Your entire body is trembling. You feel the old wounds reopening. But this time they don't weaken you, they arm you. Because now you're not a confused child being gaslighted into silence. You're a 63-year-old woman with proof. You eject the tape and grab the next one. You play it. This one shows you doing homework at the kitchen table. Your father stands behind the camera. He mocks your handwriting. He zooms in on your mistakes. He laughs each time you try to correct something. He says to the camera, "This girl is useless. Watch this. Watch how she messes up again." You clench your teeth so hard your jaw aches. You turn off the player before the tape ends. You sit there in the dim light of his bedroom, surrounded by tapes documenting a childhood he denied you ever suffered through. And slowly, painfully, a new question forms. Why did he film you? Why did he keep these tapes hidden? Who were they for? You look back at the unlocked iron box, and you finally pick up the envelope with your name on it. You study the handwriting again. You feel a strange heaviness, like something enormous is about to change. You open the envelope. Inside is a letter. It's written in your father's familiar sharp handwriting, but the tone is eerie, wrong, off, as if he wrote it during a moment of fear, not control. The first line makes your stomach drop. If you're reading this, then my plan has failed. You read it again because your brain refuses to process what you just saw. Failed. Failed what? You continue reading, your breath hitching with each line. There is something you were never meant to know. Something your mother and I hid from you for reasons I cannot explain here. I kept the tapes to remind myself of the truth. I kept the diary because it held the answer. You don't know who you are, Isabella, not Philly. And if anyone ever finds out, everything will collapse. Your fingers go numb. You grip the letter tighter to keep it from slipping out of your hand. You whisper, "What truth? What answer? What is he talking about?" You read on, feeling each word carve into your nerves. You were never supposed to outgrow my control. You were never supposed to rise above the image I set for you. If you discovered the truth, you'd hate me. And if the world discovered it, they'd destroy me. You lean back, your heart pounding so loudly the silence around you trembles. He ends the letter with one sentence. "One day, you will understand why I needed you to stay small." You stare at the letter for a long moment, stunned, breathless, terrified, and furious all at once. Because suddenly you realize your revenge might be bigger than humiliation. It might be the kind of revenge that rewrites an entire life. But before you can think further, you hear a sound, a soft creak, from downstairs. Someone is in the house. And you whisper to yourself with a mix of fear and determination. It's starting. You freeze the moment that creak slices through the silence, because you know that sound does not belong to an empty house. And you know your father's secrets were never going to stay quiet forever. You tighten your grip on the letter because every line in it suddenly feels like a countdown, ticking down to something he spent decades preparing you never to uncover. You turn your head slowly toward the doorway, your breath caught halfway between fear and adrenaline, and you whisper to yourself, someone came for the truth. You stand up from the bed, careful, silent, like a woman trapped between her past and her revenge. You move toward the bedroom door, and the darkness in the hallway feels thicker than before, like it's waiting to close, and behind you, you step forward anyway. Because for the first time in your life, you don't feel like prey, you feel like a storm gathering. Strength. You reach the top of the stairs, and you hear footsteps now, quiet, measured, intentional, not the footsteps of a thief, not the stumbling of someone lost. These footsteps belong to someone who knows this house, someone who thinks they have a right to be here. You grip the railing and lean forward, listening, and your heart sinks because you recognize the faintest hint of perfume drifting upward. Your mother. You whisper, why are you here? Even though she can't hear you from downstairs, you take one step down, another, your body moving slowly, deliberately. You reach the bottom and see her standing in the living room facing the old bookshelf, her back turned to you. She's holding one of the VHS tapes, the same tapes you found in the iron box, and she's shaking. Her shoulders tremble as if each breath hurts. You watch her for a long moment, trying to decode whether she came to destroy evidence or to confess. Then she speaks, her voice shaking so faintly it barely holds itself together. I told him to destroy these. I begged him. Your blood runs cold. You step forward, your voice steady, sharp, unforgiving. Why didn't he? She turns slowly, and the moment her eyes lock onto yours, something cracks inside her, something she held tightly for years. Her face looks pale, her eyes sunken, her hands trembling worse than you've ever seen. She whispers, because he needed them. You clench your jaw, your anger burning with a quiet rage. Needed them for what? She looks at the tape in her hand, then at the floor, then finally back into your eyes as if she's trying to decide whether to continue living a lie or finally let her throat unclench from decades of silence. She swallows hard, takes a shaky breath, and says, he filmed you for proof. You step closer, every nerve in your body tightening. Proof of what? She presses the tape against her stomach like she's trying to hold herself together. Proof that you were different. The words hit you like a blow. You feel yourself stiffen. Different how? She closes her eyes for a long moment, and when she opens them again, they are filled with something you don't recognize, fear mixed with guilt, mixed with a broken kind of love. Because you weren't supposed to be ours. You stop breathing. What do you mean? Your voice drops into a whisper that feels like a scream trapped in your chest. She takes a step toward you, her voice trembling. Your father. He didn't tell you the truth because the truth would have ruined him. The truth would have taken everything away. You weren't his by blood. Your knees weaken. The room tilts, but your voice stays steady. Because you need this truth more than air. Whose was I? She stares at the floor and whispers the answer, like a confession she's spent decades rehearsing, but never dared to speak. You were the daughter of the woman he had an affair with. A static silence fills the room. Your mind races backward, sifting through memories you didn't know you had. Your father's hatred, his excessive need to control you, his constant humiliation, his obsession with forcing you to obey. And suddenly, it all makes sickening sense. Your father didn't treat you like a failure. He treated you like a reminder. You whisper, voice shaking. He hurt me because I wasn't his. Your mother presses her lips together, her eyes filling with tears. He despised you because you were the proof of his biggest mistake, the proof he could never erase. And he kept the tapes because he wanted evidence of your weakness, evidence he could use, insurance, something he could show to anyone who ever questioned him. Your stomach twists. Your hands curl into fists. Your voice gains a sharp edge. Insurance for what? She hesitates just long enough for dread to snake up your spine. Then she whispers, your real mother threatened to expose him once. She said she'd tell everyone you were his illegitimate child. She said she'd take you away and destroy his perfect image. He filmed you to prove she was unfit to raise you. The room darkens around the edges. Your throat tightens. Where is she now? You ask. Your mother hesitates again. You step closer, your voice hardening. Where is she? Your mother's eyes fill with panic. She's gone. You inhale sharply. Gone where? She shakes her head. I don't know where she went afterward. They had a terrible fight. She disappeared the next day, and your father destroyed every trace of her, every photo, every letter, every piece of her that existed. Except you. Your heart pounds, your mind spirals, and your hands tremble as the truth clamps down hard. Your father didn't hate you because you were weak. He hated you because you were powerful enough to ruin him. You stare at your mother, feeling the storm inside you growing fierce, unstoppable. Why didn't you tell me? She breaks down, her voice cracking. Because I was scared. I was scared of him, scared of losing everything, and scared of what you'd do if you knew. Your voice sharpens like a blade. What I'd do? She nods slowly, stepping back as if the person standing in front of her is no longer her daughter, but something stronger, something dangerous. Yes, because you have her fire, her strength, her will. You're more like her than you think. You feel something shift inside you, something heavy and old, something that belonged to a woman you never got to meet, burning inside your veins. You whisper, he humiliated me publicly. He tortured me as a child. He erased her, and he tried to erase me too. Your mother whispers, your revenge will destroy him. You look at her, your voice steady, calm, terrifying. I'm counting on it. You turn away from her and walk back toward the iron box sitting upstairs, because this isn't the time for grief. This is the time for answers. This is the time for strategy. This is the time for vengeance that rewrites history. Halfway up the stairs, you stop because your mother speaks again, soft, broken. There's something else. You turn slowly. Her voice is barely a whisper. He didn't just film you for insurance. He kept recording you until the day he died. Your skin curls. Your voice becomes ice. What do you mean? She swallows hard. There are more tapes. Not in this house. Somewhere else. Somewhere only he had access to. The air thickens. The silence grows sharp. Your heartbeat quickens. Because suddenly your father's letter makes a sickening amount of sense. If you're reading this, then my plan has failed. Your mother steps toward you, tears streaming down her face. He didn't want the truth getting out after he was gone. He built something, a plan, a safety net. Your voice drops into a whisper loaded with dread and fury. A safety net against what? Your mother answers with trembling lips and a voice barely audible. Against you. Your breath catches. Your stomach twists. Your mind explodes with questions. Because whatever those tapes reveal, whatever plan he built, whatever he tried to hide, is bigger, darker, and more dangerous than anything you've discovered so far. And you know deep in your bones, the final revenge hasn't even started yet. You feel the words against you echo through your mind like a storm ripping the roof off an old house. And suddenly the world around you feels smaller, tighter, like it's being pulled into a fist that's closing around everything you thought you knew. You stare down the staircase at your mother, and for the first time in your life, you see fear in her eyes, not the fear of the past, but the fear of what you might do now that the truth has stepped out of the shadows. You grip the railing as that truth calls around your spine, pushing you forward, urging you to finish what your father started without understanding that the fire in you burns far hotter than his cruelty ever could. You whisper, where are the rest of the tapes? Because you already know the answer will carve deeper scars than any insult he ever threw at you. Your mother wipes her eyes with shaking hands. He kept a storage unit under a different name. I only saw it once, years ago. He wouldn't let me near it again. You feel your pulse sharpen, tightening into a blade. You remember the name? She nods slowly, like every memory hurts. Yes, because it wasn't his name, it was hers. You feel the floor tilt under your feet. He used my real mother's name. Your mother looks away, ashamed, her voice cracking. He used her name for everything he wanted to hide, as if she existed only to carry his sins. You swallow hard, a cold fury rising inside you. Give me the address. Your mother walks toward a drawer, her steps heavy, and pulls out a small piece of paper, crumpled, yellow at the edges. She places it in your hand without meeting your eyes. If you open that storage unit, you'll see the monster he really was. You lift your gaze, your voice steady and terrifying. I already have. But deep down, you know you haven't, not fully. Not yet. You leave the house before dawn. The sun's still hidden behind clouds thick like bruises. You drive through the quiet streets, the sky turning from black to a hungry gray. Every mile feels like a countdown, every turn a reminder that whatever waits for you at that storage unit was designed to outlive your father and destroy you if it ever surfaced. You pull into the storage facility, cold wind slicing across your face, and you walk toward Unit 137, the number written in your mother's trembling handwriting. You stand before the metal door, your breath fogging in the air, your heart pounding like it's trying to escape your ribs. You unlock it. The door slides up with a metallic groan that feels like it's waking something that shouldn't be touched. Inside, rows of tapes. Hundreds stacked from floor to ceiling, each one labeled with dates that span your entire life. Your childhood, your teenage years, your adulthood, every year, every moment. Every humiliation. Every struggle, every time he set you up to fail, every time he whispered you were worthless. Every time he manipulated situations so others saw you the way he wanted them to. He didn't just record your failures, he manufactured them. You step inside, your hands trembling as you pick up a tape labeled Age 7 Evidence, another, Age 12, Breakdown, another, Age 19, Useless, another, Age 24. Proving the pattern, your stomach twists. You pick up a tape that's labeled differently from the others. No date, no title, just one word. Mother. Your breath stops. Your hands freeze. You slide the tape into the old TV and VCR sitting against the wall, clearly placed there by someone who intended to watch these often. The static hums, the screen flickers. Then a woman appears, a woman who looks like you, eyes like yours, stubborn mouth like yours. Fire like yours. She's standing in a small room, speaking into the camera, her voice sharp, steady, vibrating with desperation. If anyone ever sees this, then he has done something to me. He is dangerous. He lies. He manipulates, and he will stop at nothing to protect himself. Your pulse hammers. You lean closer. The woman takes a breath, her eyes burning with pain and defiance. My daughter deserves to know the truth. She deserves to know that she was loved. She was wanted. She was not a mistake. Your chest tightens so violently you almost collapse. Your mother, your real mother, steps closer to the camera, tears in her eyes. If he gets rid of me, promise me you won't let him take her spirit too. Then the screen cuts to black. You don't cry. You don't scream. You don't break. You stand in the middle of that cold, dusty storage unit and let the truth ignite you. Because for the first time in your life, you understand everything. Your father wasn't trying to protect his reputation. He was trying to protect himself from you because he knew one day you'd discover the truth, and the truth would be the weapon that finally buried him. You step out of the storage unit and close the door behind you with a calm that feels like the eye of a hurricane. You know what you need to do. You drive home. You gather every tape, every letter, every file, every stolen memory he tried to twist. You spend hours ranging them, categorizing them, preparing your final move. Because exposing him wasn't enough. Your revenge would rewrite the story he tried to force you into. You open your laptop, create a new Facebook account, and upload everything. Every confession, every video, every lie he told, every truth he tried to bury. You compile them into a single documentary-long video titled, The Man Behind the Camera. Not look at this failure, but look at this monster. You attach documents, photos, scans, dates, witness names. You include the tape of your real mother, the final nail in the coffin. And then you click post. The video spreads like a wildfire soaked in gasoline. Within minutes, your father's friends begin commenting in disbelief. Within hours, people from his past start sharing stories. Within a day, his reputation, his legacy lies in ashes. And your voice, your story, your truth becomes the one thing he never allowed you to have. Power. Days later, you return to his grave alone, silent, strong. You stand before the cold stone and whisper, "You wanted the world to see me as a failure. Now the world sees you as what you truly were." The wind blows sharply, rustling the leaves round you. You place a single VHS tape on his grave, the one titled Mother. You whisper, "She won, you know? In the end, she won. Because I found her fire." You turn and walk away, leaving the past behind you like ashes scattered on cold ground. You feel lighter, not because the pain is gone, but because you finally own it. You reclaim your story, you rewrite your legacy, you choose your truth. And as you walk forward, you turn once more toward the viewer, your voice steady, powerful, unshakably yours. If someone ever tries to define you, don't let them. If someone records your pain, rewrite their script. And if someone calls you a failure, show them the empire you build from the pieces they tried to break. And before the story fades out, you ask your final question, the same one every survivor asks when they finally step out of the shadows. Where are you joining us from? And what time is it where you are right now? Because revenge stories don't end when justice is served. They end when you finally know who you are.